share. That's the whole point of this freaking live. So, settings. There we go. Automatically share screen. Okay. There we go. I got it. It's up. Awesome. So, if you're on Instagram right now, I fixed it. we're good. We're good over on YouTube now. Sorry. We're gonna try this again. Yeah, that was, I don't know why for some reason on the settings it had it toggled off. I had to just go toggle it on. So go ahead and get back over there onto YouTube. This is the window I want, I believe. Yeah, that's it. Okay. There's always one way, more than one way to skin a cat, man. Got this. I got this. Okay. Let me find Jessica. That's what I wanted to pull up. Okay. So this is Jessica Reyes. And I'm going to pull up her main front pose once we get to it here. Because I did want to show her. There we go. Okay, so I want to share this particular picture. So I'll flip that over. This is live, y'all. This is live. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. We got this. Okay, so Jessica Reyes. Yeah, take two, right? Take two. Jessica Reyes won the Masters figure. I'm sorry, not Masters figure, the Open Figure Pro. Kind of knew this was going to happen. This is who I predicted. She has not lost a show other than the Olympia and the Arnold. So what's up? Yeah, we're back. We're back on. So as you're logging on here, welcome back. Sorry. There was just one of the settings was toggled off for some odd reason. So I got it fixed. So now we're going to start talking about the results here for the Tampa Pro. Now that we're on YouTube, if you're here on Instagram, you can go back over to YouTube. We did just relaunch the live so that we can talk about Tampa. And before we get into this too far, I wanted to mention also that we do have a new promotion going on, and I wanted to pull that up. Let me get the link, and I'll stick it into the comments. Okay. Here we go. So before we get too far into this, I just put up a link into the comments. We have our brand new posing suit fabrics available, and it is a limited edition release. So this link that I just put into the comments, you can click on that and go in and purchase your very own limited edition posing suit. We have 4 new fabrics, and they are limited in production. So go ahead and click through that, hold on to that link. You can watch the rest of this live feed and go in and purchase your posing suit when we finish up. But once we run out of the actual fabrics themselves, they are out. So this is a limited edition release. Go ahead and click through, take a look, see if that's something you would like, because if you got them, then nobody else is going to have them, right? They're amazing. Thank you. Yeah, I was going to mention that. And then my freaking live stream crapped out on me. So fun times. Yay. Awesome. So we got this. All right. So Jessica did win. And somebody mentioned here the girl who finished second was upset. She looked phenomenal. It's the name of the game, man. So any posing suit questions, you can relate them to me afterwards. Okay. So just go ahead and hold on to the posing suit questions. If you want to shoot them to me in an email or something like that, feel free. Okay. But yeah, just hold on to those because otherwise we'll get off on a completely different tangent. Okay. Okay. So, as far as the second place girl being upset, I can understand that. I mean, when Jessica's gone in and won every show she's gone into, but I mean, that's her right. That's her right to do that. So the good thing about Tampa is that it is a tier 2 show. So what that means is second place actually gets 8 points towards the Olympia. So that can bump you way up real fast. She was upset. I meant she came out of nowhere. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Was an upset. Oh, was an upset. Oh, okay. I read that wrong. Got you. Yes, and I did hear about that too. That she came out of nowhere. I did look her up. I think she's never really had great placings on the pro stage until this particular show. But yeah, everybody was talking about her as far as how she just kind of showed up out of nowhere. But she has been competing for a few years. She's been a pro for a couple of years now. She just hasn't had any great placings until this show. So yeah, she was an upset. If she had won it, that would have been an upset for sure, definitely. But yeah, just going back to the previous comment, even if you had meant that people were upset, I get that. I mean, but Jessica's better. I mean, it just is what it is. Kind of the same concept of Ashley Kaltwasser doing a bunch of shows. If you want to get to the Olympia, you got to beat her. That's it. You got to beat her. You go into a show like Tampa, you got to beat that first place person. But even if you don't, because it's a tier 2 show, you do get more points, right? So I actually had a comment come in on my Instagram about should this show be considered like a New York or a Pittsburgh? It is. It's the same tier level as New York or Pittsburgh. So the people that come out of Tampa tend to be ones that we look at going into the Olympia. As far as who's going to potentially be a winner. Issa has won this show several times. Janet won this show. India, back in the day, she won this show when I competed in it that year. That's the year that India won it. That this is a show that the judges look at the winner for potential Olympia upsets or titles or whatever you want to call it. So this is definitely one of those shows that you want to be paying attention to for sure. That's why it's so deep. That's why the competition is so deep. I will be honest, last year's show for both bikini and for wellness was kind of shallow as far as the depth of competition and the quality of competition. This year was not the case. This year, that quality of competition was 100% there, top to bottom. So each of the girls that got on for each division were very, very good. And I was saying that even about wellness, which we're going to go into next. So let me go ahead and pull up the wellness video, because I have a video for wellness. I have the live stream. Let me see, where did I put that? Here it is. Okay, so I'm going to let this kind of play in the background as we start talking about wellness. Here we go. I'm just going to go ahead and hit play on this. There it is. Okay. So this is the live from wellness. Now, one of the things that I heard from people that were watching the live was that it was kind of difficult to tell the conditioning on the girls and things like that, because what was happening with the background, the LED background, was anytime that it would move, the camera would kind of go in and out of focus, because you got those LED screens in the background, right? So that's really difficult when it comes to photography and videography, because the camera wants to follow movement. So it would sometimes go on the girl and sometimes it would go onto the back screen. So what we're looking at here now is the first call out for wellness pro league. And to be honest with you, I wasn't real familiar with a lot of these girls. So I was taking down notes and things like that so that I can become familiar. But you can kind of see this is how they're moving through that first call out. Everyone here was in pretty deep condition, except for Alexis Adams, who you see in the center right here, this girl right here. She was the softest of this bunch, okay? This girl right here from Spain, I can't remember her name off the top of my head. I'm going to pull her pictures up. She actually won the Masters division, the 40 and over. But Alexis was the softest of the girls up here. So I was a little bit surprised when they put her up in there in that center of the first call up. I was thinking, well, maybe they're looking at her like that because of her conditioning. I kind of like the softer look, to be honest with you. There was a girl that ended up in the last call out here. Actually, she's over here on the side, this girl right here, who I thought was absolutely stunning. I loved her shape, loved her look, but she was definitely not conditioned enough. I personally, that's my desired look. I like that. But I understand what they're going for as far as conditioning is concerned, right? So here they're moving the girls around. This is Priscilla. This is Diana. Diana and Priscilla ended up placing first and second. And then I can't remember this girl's names either. I'm going to pull up her pictures in a minute as well. But she ended up fourth. And then Alexis was third. I thought that Alexis was crazy shape and all. It was her first pro show. I was sitting behind her coach. Yeah, Alexis did great. This is her pro debut. Now, what I will say, we'll go through each one of these girls, the top 5 individually really quickly, just so you can kind of see what we're looking at with these girls. This was a very good lineup, though, meaning that we finally have a really competitive lineup for wellness and a deep lineup for wellness. We've had a lot of shows this year that were not very deep, and it's hard to see past the top 2 girls kind of thing. Here we didn't have that issue. Here we definitely had competitive girls, right? So I think where Alexis ended up getting moved into third is if you look at her waistline. So this is first, this is second, this is third. Her waistline is quite a bit more blocky, and her conditioning is a little bit softer. So she's got to pull in her conditioning a little bit more, and she's got to figure out how to bring this waistline in a little bit more. Now from the front, I actually liked Priscilla from the front with her quad sweep and everything a little bit more than Diana. But Diana has a tiny little waistline and a much better overall shape here. She's very long to the torso here, Priscilla is, and then Diana is shorter, but that V's her in quite a bit more. And Priscilla, you can see her, she's got a wider quad sweep. So I actually had Priscilla from the front by just a touch because of that quad sweep. That's why I had her from the front. But from the back, it was definitely Diana that I had from the back between the 2 of them. So that was your first call out. I'm going to go ahead and pause this and go to, let's see. Yes, this was our 5th place right here. So this is one I was just mentioning that took 5th. Let me pull up one of her front shots. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and flip that screen over so we can look at her. So again, this is the girl that she's from Spain. She won the 40 and over. Very thick muscle. You can also see that is there a reason for the next? I'm sorry, I'm trying to read your comment. Is there a reason for the next? Sorry, can you retype that? Can you retype that question? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. So she was a little bit light with her tan. Her tan could definitely have been darker. But she's nice and full and round everywhere. Very good conditioning, all of that. She was just a little bit, I guess, thick would be the question I would be looking for. I would like to see her be a little bit more streamlined with her overall shape. She's got a great wellness frame, but I just felt like it was almost like a little bit too blocky. Blocky is not the word I'm looking for, but she was just too thick, I guess. I'm not really sure how else to say that. But she did look very good, especially being that she is obviously 40 and over, because she won the 40 and over for the Masters Pros. Let me see if I can find a back shot of her real quick, and I'll pull that too. Yeah, there we go. That's a back shot for you. All right. So really full round glutes. Squatting a little bit in that back pose. I like to see her stand up a little bit more. And I like to see this hair a little bit shorter. But overall, really, really good look. And yeah, glutes were pretty insane. Sorry, one of these was doing front bikini pose. All the others were in the front wellness pose. These pros are cons to this. The girls just pose how they feel their body looks the best. And there was one point where the judges asked them to pose straight on. And that's when they have to do that specific front pose, when the judges did ask them to do that, because they did do that. They did ask them to stand straight on. So, but when you're just standing there and you're on the line, you want to show your best shape. So I'm sure that's what she felt was her best shape. That's why she posed that way. So yeah, so I agree with this fifth place position. I think that was correct for sure. I actually agree with all of the judging results here. This and yeah, definitely. This was the Nerildi. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the name, from Spain in fifth. Okay, so we're gonna go to fourth next, which is Lily Dong, and let me pull up a pose of hers. I actually really liked her. I thought she was very cute. Let me see if I can find a good pose. A lot of these poses are her moving, so that's a good indication that she probably needs to hold her poses a little bit longer. Let's go with this one. This one's pretty close to her being fully posed. Let's see. Okay, so really nice wellness shape. And if you notice, the top four girls all looked very similar in size. Like they were all pretty short. And they were all very similar in size. Their structures were a little bit different, but their size was very similar. I thought she was really cute. I felt like her posing could use a little bit of polish for sure. Just a little bit too much movement. This was across the board. This wasn't just her. This was across the board wellness. A lot of the girls needed some more polish to their posing. I feel like wellness posing is just a little bit over the top, and not in a good way. Like it makes them look a little bit wonky sometimes. So this is not just her. This is across the board. This is pretty much everybody. I like to see a little bit more simplistic stuff going on because it just shows the shape and it shows the competitor a little bit better. Allows us to see them while they're posed versus all these big movements and things like that. And I understand the trend in the sport is all these big movements, but I'm just not personally a huge fan of it. But I thought she did a great job here. Let me find a back pose of her. Like I said, as I'm going through these pictures and stuff like that of her on NPC News, there's a ton of pictures of her, and there's very few that have her fully posed. So that's something to think about as well. That just shows you she was moving quite a bit. So this is a back pose of her. I would like to see her pull those legs in a little bit. I think her stance is a little bit too wide. I think if she was to pull her stance in a little bit, that would actually make her glutes look a little bit bigger. Here, I think her legs take over, which again, she's supposed to be lower body dominant. That's for sure the thing, but you have to have a balance still between the legs and the glutes. So I think if she was to just bring her legs in a little bit, not do quite so wide of a back pose, that would actually help her with her glutes here. Help to balance her out a little bit. But overall, very, very good conditioning. You can see very tight conditioning here too. So this is a thing with wellness. You better be in shape. Better have that tight conditioning here. Let's move on to Alexis. So let's get Alexis up here. Okay, here is Alexis. So yeah, she did really, really well for this being her pro debut. Third place, can't beat that. Third place in Tampa Pro. Where she needs to improve is she needs to get a little bit better conditioning. She was just a little bit soft, so she needs to pull that in just a touch, and then figure out how to bring this waistline in a little bit. Yes, watching her, I kept thinking how the photographer catch her pose. She hasn't stayed still. Right. Yes, exactly. Yes. Stay still. Stay still. Now, Alexis didn't have that problem. Alexis was good. Alexis, her posing was actually very polished. I liked her posing quite a bit. I felt like she had a really good presentation. Where she needs to improve is just that waistline, bringing it in, which it's going to be difficult. She's going to have to put some size on in order to make the waistline look a little bit smaller. And then just that conditioning. But overall, like I said, this is a very, very good pro debut. Like you really can't go wrong with getting third place at Tampa Pro for your pro debut when you just won your pro card a few weeks prior. So let me pull up her back shot so you can see her back. There we go. So as you can see here, her back pose is quite a bit closer than what we saw from Lily in the fourth place position. Yep, Alexis repping Virginia. Yep, repping Virginia. Yep. So this in my opinion is a really, really good wellness back pose, like how she's executing it. Now you can see she's not as conditioned as the girl we just had up on the screen. She is softer, but I like how she's executing this back pose a whole lot better. It just shows a really good balance between her glutes and her legs. Her glutes are really, really strong, but they're not overpowering, right? They're balanced with her legs. So I think this is the direction to go with your posing as far as back posing for wellness. And to me, it just looks classy as well. So I think she did a great job here. Again, just conditioning. Conditioning here is where she needs to improve on that. Okay, let's move to Priscilla. So Priscilla was in second. And I do agree with this placing as well. I agree with how this played out for the top four, basically. Let me find a front pose. Okay, there's a front pose for you. Really pretty girl. You could tell she was super excited to be in that first call out and everything and to be moved into the center. She was like dying on stage. It was great to see that. Really well conditioned here. And again, where I felt like was kind of almost winning from the front is in the fullness of her quad sweeps here. I felt like she had a better quad sweep. However, she has a longer torso. So that's kind of where she, like, this was the better part. This was the not so good part. Now, she also was really extra with her posing, which I would suggest she tones that down, because when she was spinning and all the stuff during her individual, she was losing control of her waistline. She wasn't able to hold that tight. And that's a problem. If you're losing the shape of your physique through your posing, you probably should tone the posing down a little bit. So that would be my suggestion for her. I do think this was a very good package for her, but I'd just like to see her just polish up that posing a little bit. And I think that would really help her. Now, again, she took second place here in Tampa, so it's not like she was horrible by any stretch of the imagination. She was actually very, very good, and I think this was a very competitive package for her. But that's my suggestion would be to tone down the posing routine specifically. She did great when she was in comparisons. She was fine when she was in comparisons, which is why she moved her way into the center. But routine, just keep it simpler, just a little bit simpler in the routine. Let's pull up the back pose for you. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, so she's another one where I feel like she can improve on her back pose. There were a few turns throughout the day that had me nervous. Yeah, right, exactly. So I feel like if she stood up a little bit more in her back pose, that would actually make a lot of her muscularity in the back pop a little bit more. You can see here, again, her legs really overtake her glutes. And I think if she came up a little bit taller on those knees, that would help those glutes to round out and pop a little bit better. And that would actually balance her a bit from the back. This, to me, just looks a little bit awkward. Like she's almost squatting a little. So I'd just like to see her come up a little taller. Now you can notice too, one thing I did notice on her is that she wore shorter heels. These are probably 4-inch heels, and most girls wear, 4.5 to 5. These are shorter heels. And I'm guessing she did that on purpose, probably to make her legs look a little bit thicker. I think it worked. But I'd just like to see her come up a little bit taller on those knees, just to make this whole back pose just a little bit more streamlined and pop the muscularity a little bit better. Everything looks a little bit pulled too tight, in my opinion, and that's all posing. Her conditioning is right there. Her conditioning is fine where it is. She just needs to pull up a little taller. So posing is where I would focus for her as far as just polishing some things up. Okay, let's go to our winner, which is Diana. Okay, Diana, we had her predicted to be in the top here, and she didn't disappoint. I think it was pretty clear that she was the winner. The only thing that I didn't like about her presentation was her eye makeup. Her eye makeup matched her suit, and it was really distracting to me. But you can see her shape. Her shape is really, really good from the front. So she didn't have the same kind of sweep that Priscilla had on her quads here, but her waistline, because it's so short and V's in so tight, her front pose is incredibly, incredibly good because of her proportions here. Conditioning is right on, right where it needs to be. She's nice and full, and she's tight and everything as well. I would just like to see not blue eyeshadow, basically. But from the front, very, very good pose from the front. And you can see with her, she went the opposite direction and did high heels here with those stilettos here, the platforms, which I'm not a huge fan of the platforms, to be honest with you. I think that's a little much, but she's teeny tiny. So I kind of understood why she did that, because she wanted to make herself look a little bit longer. Makes sense. It's all about creating those lines and that aesthetic flow to your physique. So I'm sure that's why she did that on purpose. Let's pull up a back shot for her. Let's see. She's almost posed in that one. I made the blue eyeshadow mistake. Yeah, right. Yeah, it was a little much for me. Okay, so here's her back shot. She had a really, really good back shot. So there we go. All right, so you can see from the back here, this is what I was talking about with Priscilla, about coming up on the knees a little bit. I think if she would do that, she would have looked like this. This girl, Diana, has really good conditioning, but she doesn't look over the top because she's not squat down in her pose, right? This is a really good back pose, nice and round. Her glutes are full, so are her quads. They balance. Yes, wellness is about a bigger lower half. It is about a bigger lower half, but the glutes and the legs need to be balanced with one another. You don't want one to overpower the other. She has a very well balanced back shot, right? Very well balanced back shot. Okay. For those of you that are on our Instagram, we are screen sharing over on YouTube. So if you'd like to switch over, you can see the screen share over there. We are on wellness, and we are going to be moving to bikini in just a moment. So, but yeah, overall, this was 100% a win for her. I don't have any question as to her being the winner. I think that was the correct call. And really, the only thing I would change in the whole thing is her eyeshadow. That's the only thing I would change. Everything else was great. So, just my 2 cents. Let's go to we're going to go to bikini next. And let me pull up so I can get to the first call out of bikini on our live stream here. Let me find it. 1 second. Okay. Go ahead and screen share this for you so we can watch this as we're going. Okay, there we go. Okay, so you can see very clearly that this was a very big lineup for bikini. It was very competitive all the way down, even into the last call out. There was nobody on the stage that looked bad by any stretch of the imagination. So this was a very difficult, very difficult show. The girls all looked great. So we're going to watch a little bit here as they start doing this first call out for you guys. So give it a second while they're pulling people. As you can see, it's taking them a little while to actually determine who's going to be in the first call out. Here we go. So we got Romina, we got Jordan, we got Danielle Combs, we got Jasmine, we've got Ivana, we've got Daraja, Amy, and Jody. There's your first call out right there. So I'm gonna let you guys watch the first call out as they go through this. They're gonna start moving some people around, that kind of thing. These girls all had really complete packages. I will go through and talk about each of the top 5 as we get into that. But you can see, I mean, it's very, very competitive here. There's Romina. And, Romina is one of the ones that we talked about. We weren't sure what she was going to look like because we haven't seen her all year. She definitely has downsized. I'm assuming what her feedback was. She was getting some big delts and things like that. So this is the part that I wanted you to watch too, because we all know we're fans of Jazzy, right? So she got moved out. I was not happy about that. 17-minute call out here from first to last. So much beauty on the stage. I can't even do it, right? Yeah. So during prejudging, as they started doing these comparisons, Jasmine got better as she moved. Now, one thing I will say is I wish that her tan was just a little bit darker. You can see here she's probably the lightest one on the stage right now. But watch them as they start turning them. And Jasmine got better as she went through this call out. So you're going to see them move her in. And she was so classy about it. Yep. Mm-hmm. So look at those glutes, guys. Look at those glutes. Ridiculous. If you're not inspired to go hit, glute day right now, you better go do it. That's all I'm saying. I think this was one of the shows where almost everyone that was in the top 4 brought like their best package. Now we'll talk a little bit about each girl as I pull up their individual pictures, but I just wanted you to be able to see the first call out so you can see how they're moving. So you can see right now, they're moving Jasmine back in towards the center again. Now this whole time they were moving everybody around Amy. Now Amy's the one in the middle in the blue. So, obviously I am a fan of Jasmine and I want her to win and everything like that. But when you watch this, you can see that what they're doing is they really are kind of comparing everybody to Amy. So Jasmine had the opportunity to get in there and start taking some judging votes away from Amy, basically. So that was really good. She worked hard to get into that center spot. Now you can't really see it here, but when Ivana was turning around from back to front, she had glute striations. So, people were asking if her posing routine, and we'll get into that when we talk about her a little bit more. We were asking if her posing routine hurt her in her placement. And no, her posing routine didn't. She had a flamboyant posing routine, and I would definitely take out some of the spins and turns that she did. But what actually hurt her placing was the striations, in my opinion. She was just a little bit too lean, a little bit too hard. She needs to fill out. Now, this could be something where it happened because she's done several shows in a row at this point, and her body could just be getting to that point where she just needs to take a little bit of a break. But that being too lean thing is not going to work for you. So as they're here, you can see that's your top 4 right there in the center. Romina it was pretty clear that Romina was your 4th place position, and that those other 3 were the ones they were really comparing each other to. So, that's one thing you can always watch when you're watching prejudging is pay attention to the girls that they keep in the center and the girls that they move around. So they're moving people around, trying to compare each one to each one, basically, right? Now, after prejudging, I had Jasmine in 1st place, but I'm also very biased, and you guys know this. So that's just the truth. I'm biased. So when we got into finals, I watched with a more critical eye and watched things a little bit more without my bias there. And I understand why she took 2nd. She had a little bit of jiggle in her glutes that Amy did not have. So that's the only spot where I felt like Amy did have the show over Jasmine. So it made sense to me. I actually like Jasmine's shape from the front better, but you got to be real tight in those glutes. And she had some jiggle in the glutes. She talked about it as far as her ovulation started hitting, and she actually got the jiggle got worse at finals because she started hitting those ovulation symptoms. And I saw it. I was right there next to the press pit. Like you can see that the camera's there. I was there next to all of them, and I saw it in person, and I saw the jiggle. You can't see it here on this live stream. I saw it. This is what I try to tell you guys, like watching a show in person is completely different than watching it on a live stream. So whenever I'm not there in person, I always give you guys the caveat of I just see what I see. I wasn't there, right? I was here at this show and I saw it happen, right? So yes, I believe that the judging definitely played out the way it should have here. We're going to go into, like I said, I'm going to pull up each of the top 5. Actually, I think I pulled up the top 6 is what I did do because I did award top 6 once we get through this call out here. So just give it a second so you can watch the rest of it. And obviously we ended with Jasmine and Amy in the center, splitting that center. So we knew it was down to the 2 of them for your top 2. And then Ivana and Romina in those 3rd and 4th. All right. So let's go ahead and pull up. Let's see what we got here. Is this so I did start with Deraja. Okay, so let's pull up Deraja. Let me get to a good front pose of her. There we go. Okay. So Daraja's already come out and told everybody what her feedback was and everything like that. I personally was not a fan of the pink suit. Wasn't a fan of the lighter hair either. I felt like everything kind of blended together, and I believe that was also part of her feedback. I say this all the time: when something's winning, don't change it. Right. So she's going to go back to her blue suit. I saw her make that post. She did mention that she was on her period and she just had a really rough time that whole week. And it does look like she's just holding on to some extra weight here. That's what it looks like to me. Fantastic shape. And she still placed fifth. So, she still did phenomenal, even given the circumstances. But I could tell even when she stepped out on stage, she just wasn't her normal self. Last year at Tampa Pro, when she stepped out on stage, it was like, oh my God, she just took over the stage. Here, she kind of got lost a little bit. Her confidence wasn't there. It just wasn't. She still looked great, but just that little it factor, that pow factor, it was missing. So I know she's competing again this coming weekend. Hopefully her symptoms have all dissipated. She's been able to come in a little bit tighter. That's what she's going to need to do. She's going to need to take off a layer of water and inflammation and a little bit of body fat in order to really bring in her shape correctly and her conditioning correctly. Agreed. She didn't mention the hair, but that other wig serves. Yes. Personally, the problem with wigs like this is, again, it just blended into everything. That blonde, that caramel color, it looks beautiful off stage, but on stage, you need something that's going to be a contrast and it's going to pop. And when we're used to seeing something on her that pops, blue and that dark hair, this was just not it for me, right? We want to go back to what was it, go back to the it factor she had. So let's go to a back shot of her. Mm-hmm. And I'll also show you, hopefully we can see this in her back shot too when we get there. Okay, so here's her back shot. So you can just see here the conditioning is off. She has a very wide back, but even at that, I still felt like the hair was just a little bit too big, almost like she needs to pull it in a little bit, so that just makes her look like she V's in more. I just like to see a little bit more of those delts. So she just needs to pull that and maybe just cut off an extra inch on the outside of that hair, right? I said the same thing about the hair and suit. And my same things, did they change the backdrop to match the suits? No, they did not change the backdrop to match the suits. No, it was just on a rotation. It was just on a rotation of the LED screen. So no, they didn't change it to match the suits. But yeah, this for her, she has a little bit of a wider back, those kinds of things, which looks fantastic when her conditioning is in. But when her conditioning isn't there, it just doesn't flow right. So, again, this is kind of where Jasmine was when she first started her season this year, and then she pulled it in the last few weeks and looks phenomenal now and at her best. So this is kind of what Daraja needs to do. She needs to do the same kind of thing that Jasmine did over the last couple of months here, right? So, again, not a bad finish, still not a bad finish to come in fifth. But I know that's not what she wanted. I know that's not what she was gunning for here at this show. So we'll be looking forward to seeing her coming back at her 100%, right? Okay, let's go ahead and pull the next one up, which is Romina. So let me find a front pose of Romina here. Okay. Romina, to me, just looked a little bit washed out. I love the pink under Raja. If you are on our YouTube, go check out our YouTube. I'm talking on Instagram right now. If you're on our YouTube channel, go check it out because I'm screen sharing over there too, and you can see what I said about her pink and everything too. So with Romina, she just looks a little bit washed out, a little bit soft everywhere. I'm assuming, like I said, that she was given feedback last year that she needed to downsize a little bit because she's got those delts. She's got a lot of muscle, so this to me looks like she tried to follow feedback, but it just ended up looking like washed out to me. She when she first stepped on stage, to be honest with you, I didn't even realize it was her because she looked so small to me, and I wasn't used to seeing her looking like that. So you can kind of see in her waistline, she's still really well shaped, but she doesn't have any kind of definition there in her waistline. She just looks a little bit washed out. That's the best way I can say it. So it's almost like she had like a film of water almost on top of her, and I'd like to see that dissipate. And her waistline didn't come in tight enough, right? She just doesn't have that V in, because it's almost like she's got that layer of water over her, right? So there's that. Let me pull up a back shot for her. There we go. Romina's got fantastic glutes. She had great pop to her glutes and everything like that too. But again, it's just that little bit of film over top of her that needed to dissipate. So who knows? Maybe she had some menstrual issues too. That could have been it. I don't know. That could have been it. To me, it just looked like a film of water. She did have a little bit too much glaze on her glutes. To me, it just popped. It just was a little bit too much. Again, it looked like a layer of water, that kind of thing. I just don't think this was Romina's best. But knowing Romina, she's been a top 5 Olympian in the past, so she'll come back and she'll fix it. I felt like her presence just wasn't quite there, but again, first show back this year, got to kind of knock the spider webs off and kind of get back out there and get it flowing again. So I don't know what she's planning on doing next. But I just like to see her a little bit tighter and see everything pop a little bit more on her. Just to kind of bring her back to the Romina that we're used to, that kind of thing. Because again, she's got some of the best glutes in the business, you guys. So I'm sure she'll be back even better the next time she gets on stage. Let's go to Ivana. So Ivana was one that her posing was over the top. I would like to see her tone it down quite a bit as far as her routine is concerned. She did some spin moves and things like that didn't really do anything for her other than make her look like she's going to fall over. So I'd like to see her tone her posing down a bit. Now, again, she's European. So a lot of the European competitors have more flamboyant routines and things like that. So that's probably where that comes from. But she just needs to bring it back down a little bit. And I'm going to show you that too with her back pose, where she needs to kind of improve her back pose a little bit too. Here in the front pose, she just needs to pull that hand back so we can see her belly button. That is one of my biggest pet peeves. I want to be able to see your belly button. And if I can't see your belly button, that's a problem. She was just a little too lean. And when you're a little too lean, your proportions don't pop like they typically do. Like, she looked really long-waisted to me. She didn't V in like she typically does. And I think that's just because she was just too hard. She was just too lean. This purple suit, it's pretty, but I like her red suit better. I mean, I would just go back to where she's won before, which was in her red. So I would like to see her back in her red suit. Again, this was okay, but okay doesn't cut it when you're up in the top echelon of the pros, right? We want to see your best. Loved her look as far as her hair and makeup was concerned. Her tan looked great too, but because her suit was so dark, it was almost like everything blended. Like the suit blended with the tan. So she just kind of faded into the background for me. Like, typically when she walks on stage, I see her right away. I didn't see her right away. Everything just kind of blended. So I wanted, if she's going to go that dark with her tan, which I think is good, then she needs a suit that's going to pop off it. Go to the red, But at the end of the day, what actually hurt her in this competition was her conditioning. The fact that she had striations in her glutes when she turned. That's what hurt her more than anything else, right? And not like the purple on her. Red is Evie's color. Agree. I think red is her color as well. So let me pull up a back shot for her. All right. So I'm going to critique this back shot, you guys. Before I even say anything, what do you guys think I'm going to say about her back shot here? Somebody tell me what you think I'm going to say about her back shot. Now, again, she is a little bit too lean. She's just a little bit too hard here. She just needs to fill out a little bit, just a touch more body fat. It could be just a matter of eating a little bit more too, and that could do it. But what am I going to tell you guys about her back pose here that I don't like? Well, actually, there's two things, but the main thing. The elbows or the hair. There you go. Both of those things. Yes, exactly right. Yep, the elbows. The elbows are way too far out. Way, way, way too far out. When you do that, we lose your shoulders. We lose your delts. She has no delts here because of her elbows. And yes, the hair length too. Yes, the hair length. I've critiqued her on the hair length thing before. The hair length needs to come up just a touch, just a little bit. Hair's a lot more polished in this particular show, but the hair length does need to come up a little bit. She's such a small girl that hair can overwhelm really fast, right? She pressed her elbows. Yes, her elbows are out too far. And as you can see here, she has crazy delts. She has amazing delts, but you don't see them because of the way she's got her elbows, right? So I'd like to see her fix that. Lower half of her body, of her back pose is great. It's just her upper half. We want to see her lower back, so she's got to trim that hair. We want to see the delts, so pull the elbows down. Just pull the hands and the elbows down. Again, this is very European inspired, basically, when it comes to this particular pose. You can see that, right? There's a competitor whose hair was past that, maybe mid-thigh. Yes, and I've seen her, and I can't remember her name. She's competed with that hair several times, and I'm sure she has gotten the feedback to cut it. I don't know why she won't, but she definitely needs to. If she wants to place better, she's going to have to cut that hair. I know who you're talking about. But yeah, just these little things with Evie would make it so much better. The girl's hair was distracting. Yes, it was. And I've seen her compete several times, and she's done the same thing each time with the hair. So I'm sure she's gotten that feedback. I'm sure she has. But you can only tell somebody what to do. Can't make them do it. So. But yeah, overall, I think Evie will fix a lot of these things. I think she's competing this coming weekend too, so I'm sure she'll fix some of these things that she didn't do correctly here. And then we'll see her improve from there. But this is also the risk of competing more, because she was coming off of 5 wins in a row, and now she's 3rd place when she gets into a big show, right? So you got to be careful. You got to be strategic about how you play these shows, right? So fix these issues, and maybe she'll get back up to the top spot, right? All right. And they're tiny issues. They're not big. And let's go to Miss Jasmine. So we're going to get to a front pose with her first. Okay. So here's Jasmine's front pose. And I actually had Jasmine winning from the front. I felt like she was the most aesthetically balanced competitor on that stage, with her upper to her lower half, that waistline and the way it beat up into her shoulders. She did get feedback on her front pose not to pull her shoulder back so hard, which I do agree with too. She's fighting muscle memory here. So if you guys remember a couple years ago, everybody was posing with big wide lat spreads, and she was doing that. So she did that for a long period of time, and then we've stopped doing that this past year. So it's a matter of fighting that muscle memory where she wants to pull out, but she knows she can't, kind of thing. And then if she relaxes too much, then she loses that V taper and that tight tie into her waistline. So it's just fighting that muscle memory. That's why I tell you guys, posing is so important, because you create muscle memory. You can create it correctly, and you can create it incorrectly. So when you're posing, you need to be getting with a posing coach more than once every 5 months, because you need to be making sure that you are correcting this posing muscle memory when the posing and the standards and the criteria shift. So that's something that she's been working on. And she knows that she's still to my eye still had the best front pose on that stage. And I believe this is the best package that Jasmine has put on stage to date. So I think she's just now starting to get into her full potential. And we're going to see her get better as she goes. So yeah, no lat spreads. No. It's been no lat spreads for a while. It's been no lat spreads since last year. I mean, they really have been hammering that down 100%. So yeah, this is why you got to get with a posing coach that knows what they're talking about and what they're doing. No lat spreads. S curve, not X curve, S curve, S as an S. So yes. So that's something that she's going to try and prove for this coming week as she comes along. But you can see her conditioning. This is probably the best conditioning I've seen in her legs ever. And I actually mentioned this. I was like, I haven't seen your conditioning look like this since you won your pro card. And now her body is more balanced now than when she won a pro card. So I do actually think this is her best look that she's had so far. Let's turn her to the back. Well, if I can get it, let's see. All right, that's, oh, no, she's not fully posed there. Hold on. Here we go. Here's a fully posed one. Okay. Now, the way she executed her back pose was perfect. As you can see, we were picking on Evie about the elbows. See how Jasmine has her elbows down and relaxed? We see those delts pop on the outside. That's what we need to see from Evie, right? Now we're also picking on Deraja about the hair. See how Jasmine's hair V's down into her back and does not touch her shoulders. We see her shoulders. That's what Deraja needs with her hair, right? This is a really well executed back pose, okay? Hamstrings are really nice and tight. Glutes are nice and round and full. Now, the only place, like I said, the only place where she ended up in second versus first is when she was moving. She had a little bit of water in her glutes that would shake. Okay. And that was from her ovulation and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, as the day went on, it got worse. And that's because her ovulation was coming on. Right. So, I mean, I saw it at finals and I was like, as soon as I saw that happen, I was like, oh, she's in second. I was like, you know, like I said, at prejudging, I have my biases. I wanted her to win, all of that kind of thing. But I have to look at her objectively as well. And I understand why she took second. It made sense. So, you know, this was a very, very good package for her. When she goes into her next show, she'll be through all of her ovulation problems. So the jiggle will be gone. And she actually had no jiggle the day before. When I had her check in with posing with me, I said that. I actually have it on recording, on video, where I said, you don't have any shake here. You know, you had shake in Chicago and things like that. You have no shake right now. And she got that shake back when the ovulation symptoms hit. So with that, as long as she gets that nice and tight this coming week, I mean, I don't see how she'll be outside of the top two. Again, we'll preview the next coming show, but just saying, I'm just saying. I only look at the girls that place in the top 5, guys. Sorry. So, yeah, I mean, she executed everything well, you know, but we as women have to deal with hormonal stuff. I mean, this stuff happens. I mean, I said that about myself. The 2 shows that I did this year, I got my period directly after the show when it finished that night, both of them. So I couldn't understand why I was cramping and having issues all day on show day when I typically don't have that problem. And it was because I got my period that night. So, you know, we have things that we have to deal with. It is what it is. Guys don't have to deal with this, and we do. It's part of the sport. It's part of the things we have to try to compensate for. You know what I mean? So is what it is. Okay, so let's go to Amy, who won this. Okay. So Amy is a relatively new pro. I believe this is her 3rd pro show. She did Ben Weeder, and then she did, this is kind of a fuzzy picture. Let me get a better picture. Hold on. Okay, that's better. She did Chicago, where she placed 4th, and then she won here. Nothing like getting your period on show day. I know, right? It was terrible. Both shows that I did this year, I got my period on right after finals is when I got my period. So yeah, fun times. Anyway, so back to Amy. So you can see with Amy here, she is very well balanced. Now, I will be honest, when I first saw her come on stage, I thought she was glute heavy, but the more that she started posing, the more that I realized that she actually was pretty well balanced from top to bottom. I would like to see her front pose. I'd like to see her open up a little bit more on her upper body. So maybe bring that waistline a little bit more forward, not a lot, just a touch, just so that it doesn't look like she's quite so glute heavy sometimes. When she hit this correctly, she looked very well balanced, but if you saw her at a different angle, she looked glute heavy. So depending on where you were looking at her, depending on where you were sitting in the audience or whatever, that's where you saw that change, right? So for the front pose, I would just like to see her open up just a touch more so that looks more balanced. Because I do think that Jasmine beat her from the front because of the balance aspect. And then from the back is where Amy won it. So overall, this is a very, very good look, though. Obviously, she's done very well, and she is now qualified for the Olympia. And this is a big deal because she hasn't really been on anybody's radar until now. You know, you go into a show like this and you win it, all of a sudden everybody's talking about you. So she's going to be talked about. She's going to be talked about. This was a surprise. Nobody saw her coming, right? She just placed, like I said, 4th. And that was her first pro placing. That was her first pro placing at Chicago. So to come in and win this show is a big deal. It's a big deal. Let's pull up her back pose. And guys, this is where shows are won and lost, is in that back pose. All right. Really, really good glute development shape. When she walked, nothing moved. That was, for me, that was the determining factor. When she walked, nothing moved back there. You know, we always talk about the jiggle and stuff like that. She had none of that going on. She has those really long teardrop hamstring tie-ins. That's a phenomenal glute structure right there. And she did a very, very good job of dialing this in. The only thing that I would fix in this back pose is her back is pinched. So she needs to open up her back a little bit just so we don't see those pinched shoulder blades, and so we have a flat back. That'll help those delts pop again with that balance factor from the back. The balance factor from the back will come at its best if she opens up a little bit more in that back pose. We don't see the scapular curve there. Because she's got her hair perfect as far as it goes right down the middle of her back, but then we see the back kind of crunch in a little. So that's the only thing that I would do on this back pose as far as fixing it. Conditioning wise, right there. Perfect. Like perfect conditioning. So, and the shape, she's got that nice high round glute. Again, it's a genetically, this is a really, really, really good back pose. And she got the conditioning right too. So that's hard to beat when you're on stage. That's really hard to beat when you're on stage. So this to me is where she won the show. This is where she won the show. So she's now Olympia qualified, which is cool. It's cool to get a brand new pro come out of nowhere and just qualify like that and like shock everybody and start being talked about, right? So she's somebody we're gonna have to look at now when we're going into the Olympia. This is something like what Laura Lee did a few years back when she first came out on the scene and she just started winning shows out of nowhere. And then she's never lost a show since, except for Tampa last year. She lost Tampa last year. So, you know, when we're talking about girls that can come out and boom, hit a show and win, now you're in the discussion. Now you're in the topic of discussion. So I believe she's competing again this coming weekend. So we'll see how that goes for her. But I think that's everyone. Yeah, we went through everyone. Okay, any other questions that you guys have that we didn't cover? And while we're waiting on that, I'm going to go ahead and paste this link in here again. This is our posing suit link. For those of you that want to purchase one of our limited edition posing suits, go ahead and click through on that link right there. That'll take you right to it. You can purchase right there. If you have any questions about posing suits and stuff like that, email into us. Okay. I'm not gonna clog up the chat with questions on posing suits. But if you want to purchase one of our limited edition fabrics, there you go, right there. There's the link for you. And I'll put it in the description and all that kind of stuff too. And I'll post it on Instagram and all of that as well once we get off the slide feed. So any questions? That was a long one, you guys. It was a long one. And we had to restart it. I want to always leave this open for a couple of minutes for you guys to ask any questions as we go. And we will definitely come on again tomorrow night, and we'll do a preview of the this coming weekend, because there are several shows this weekend. There's Texas, there's Tahoe, there's Pacific USA. So we'll preview each of those shows tomorrow. The pro lists are out, so it'll give me an opportunity to actually go through and look at the pros and all of that. The Olympia guesstimate is fine. No idea where she'll place in the Olympia right now. People, I won't do Olympia predictions or anything like that until we get to Olympia time. Olympia is in December. We still have several months of girls coming out. Like I said, like Amy just came out of nowhere and won this. So we could have somebody that does that again. Gianna Moore, she did that in Pittsburgh. She came out of nowhere and placed top 4. There are still plenty of opportunities for girls to come out of nowhere and make some noise. So I'll do Olympia predictions when we get to Olympia. We'll see. And there's a lot of girls we haven't seen on stage this year. We haven't seen Jen Dory on stage this year. We haven't seen a lot of girls on stage. So to give guesstimates on the Olympia right now would be very premature. Very premature. But like I said, when you come out of a show, a tier 2 show, you winning a tier 2 show, you're going to be talked about going into the Olympia. Yeah. So anybody that wins Tampa or New York or Pittsburgh or whatever, you're going to be talked about. Mm-hmm. Any other questions, guys? I'll leave it open for like one more minute because we've been on for an hour and this was after restarting. I got my screen share to work though. We needed that. We needed the screen share, you guys. Well, I appreciate everybody staying on with me. We have quite a few people on, so that's cool. That's awesome. So for those of you that were on over on Instagram, if you click over to our YouTube channel, which you can find the link in our link tree in the drop down bio there, we've got all the screen shares up. All the comments will stay up. The links will stay up, all of that. So once we finish up here, you can actually go over and watch as well. And give us a comment, subscribe, like, all of that. That helps us bring more content to you each time that we do this. So tomorrow we'll do a preview of the coming attractions for the coming weekend. And that's about it. I'm going to let you all go for this evening. So it's a bad idea to match suit to the backdrop. You don't want to plan your suit based on the backdrop. Let's just say that. You don't want to plan your suit based on the backdrop. Let's just say that. Okay. Kind of surprised that Jennifer Dory hasn't done a show before the Olympia. No, she's planning on just coming in and defending her title. That's what she's planning on doing. So that's her strategy. So, yep. She may change that. Who knows? She could decide last minute to not do that and do a warm up or something. But that's her strategy. So, oh yeah. And guys, pay attention because Cuties Con from the Stage stuff is going to start dropping pretty soon. So be paying attention to that. And of course, if you want to work with me, suitsandposing.com is where you have to go. We do hair, makeup, suits and posing, all the fun stuff when it comes to competing. Our next show that we will be at is Nashville, and I will be doing the hair and makeup there. So if you need to book hair and makeup for Nashville Fit Show, please hit me up. And I will also be doing backstage footage at Nashville Fit Show. It's a tongue twister. So if you see me, I'm gonna be taking videos and all sorts of fun stuff backstage. So make sure you find me so I can get some footage of you so you can be featured and all of that on their show stuff. So that'll be fun. And I think that's everything. I'll put the link for our posing suits, like I said, into the description, everything when I post this video for you guys. We'll be back again tomorrow night. And I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. It was a long one for us, and we're getting still caught up on everything. And yeah, we'll be back tomorrow night. All right, I'm going to end you out on YouTube first.